Okay, and we would like to say bouncy good afternoon to everyone and welcome to the Township of Douro-Dummer and our council meeting of the 17th of November 2020. We sincerely hope everyone is keeping safe and doing our very best to get us through this pandemic, and we hope everyone will continue to do so. I welcome everyone, and for members of council, I believe you know the routine now. We've been doing this for quite a while, and we'll try to handle the meeting as we would in our council chambers. Please raise your hand or shout out if you would like to say something, and we will call for a yes or a no. And we will also ask if you're opposed to any motions that we make. Okay, let's introduce the faces who are with us tonight. First of all, Deputy Mayor Carl Moher is here. Carl, a big wave. Good, thank you. Councillor Watt is here. Councillor Landsman. And Councillor Watson, I believe, is she here by audio? We're having a few technical issues.
Mr. Mayor, she's not on the line. I believe she's sending her regrets because of technical issues.
That's fine. There's not much you can do about that these days. Also, Martina Chait-Hartwig is here. Martina, a big wave. Thank you. Is Brian Fawcett, our CBO, here as well? Okay, I'm not hearing him. Oh, he is. Brian, it's nice to see your face.
Thank you.
Vanessa Sweeting is our Senior Administrative Assistant, and Nicole Zenner is our Administrative Assistant. She's the one pushing all the buttons as well. Dan Murren of Orca, he'll be doing a presentation that we're all looking forward to. Dan, welcome. And I'm going to move along here, first of all, with our land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we're on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe, and we offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and their teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings, and I will ask everyone to pause for 2 minutes of silence. Thank you. Okay, thank you all. That wasn't 2 minutes, but it was certainly a moment of silence for all the right reasons. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest with any of the matters we're dealing with on the agenda? Okay, we see no hands. The agenda that's before you, we would entertain a motion, please. And I'm going to change it up just a wee bit, but an adoption of the agenda. I'm going to move item 11.1 up to the very beginning. So Carl is making that motion and Tom is the seconder. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, it gives me a great deal of pleasure now to start off our meeting by introducing a brand new face to the screen. On my screen, I know he's right in the middle here. How nice. Paul Creamer is officially our brand new temporary treasurer. And Paul, we want to sincerely welcome you to the team. We know there's a lot of work to do. And I wonder if maybe you would just say hello to everyone, give us a little background, and we just want you to know you're part of Douro-Dummer right now.
Thank you, Your Worship, for that introduction. And it's nice to virtually meet all the councillors. I look forward to working closely with you over the duration of my contract. A little bit about myself. I've been in municipal finance for over 10 years now. I've worked in big, small, and single tier, lower tier municipalities. I've kind of made a career of actually kind of completing contracts for municipalities. I think it's given me a lot of different experiences that I can bring to the table over the next 6 months. And so far, I just finished my second day, just started yesterday, and everyone's made a really great impression so far. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's great. Thank you very much. We want you to know how much we welcome you and your calculator. I'm sure it doesn't leave your side, or am I dating myself? Maybe. But anyway, welcome. And we know you're going to enjoy your stay here. We have a great staff, and I know you're going to help us. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we are going to move ahead to the bylaw to officially appoint Paul, and that is bylaw 2020-63. That's item 11.1 on the agenda. Sheila, are you going to move that bylaw, please? And Tom, you'll second it. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Paul, we got you. Good luck and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the minutes of the October 30th and November 3rd meeting are before you. Can we have a motion, please, to approve and accept those minutes, please? Sheila? Carl?
I'll second it, but I have a question regarding the November 3rd meeting.
Okay, Sheila has made the motion. You are the seconder. Go ahead.
Okay, in the at the November 3rd meeting, we had a resolution, and let me find it here. It was resolution 393-2020, which basically advanced 70-odd thousand from reserves to projects at Clintonia Park. And the resolution in the minutes says that the CAO report 2020-64 report dated October 28th regarding the Clintonia project be received, and the council release additional funds from reserves to complete the project. I feel, and this is after the fact, that we should be, to be transparent to our ratepayers that we represent, we should be showing them pretty much the exact amount that's being transferred, because with that significant amount of money, I think it's important that they see in the official record what it is. I'm not disputing the decision. It was a recorded vote and so on, but I think I wouldn't want anyone to come back and think that we're trying to hide the amount being transferred. So I would propose that we correct those to include the approximate amount that was transferred from reserves to the project.
What is the total? Sorry. What is the total, Martina? Are you aware?
Oh, yes, for me. So the amount that would approximately need to be transferred. So at the last meeting, I did review our meeting notes and the video. And there was a question from Councillor Landsman as to how much money would be left in the reserve after the transfers were done, and that was $144,000. I've done a little bit of extra work today to get a more approximate number as to how much would need to come out of reserves, and that's approximately $60,000 out of reserves. But these are approximates because we do not have all of the expenses as of yet. That's why I'm hesitant to give you a final number, because we don't have that at the moment.
You don't have a final specific number.
No.
So what are you suggesting, Carl? And we'll see if it's okay with the mover of the motion.
Well, I would suggest that maybe we have something to the effect that 60,000, in the range of 60,000.
Approximately.
I thought it was approximately 72,000, but certainly I'd be satisfied with that amount being shown, and then there's no dispute. Also, auditors, when they're trying to reconcile our books for the official record, they'll be looking for certain amounts to audit that amount. So I just think it should be there. And I'm sorry I didn't pick up on it during the meeting, but I guess I did when we reviewed the minutes.
Martina, clarity?
Because we don't have an official number in front of us today, would it be better if a report came back at the next council meeting outlining the costs, and then it would be in a report that council could receive at a future meeting?
Reasonable approach.
And we could confirm the amount at that time?
By then, we will have all the figures.
with the suggested resolution?
Yes.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Okay, that's simply a motion and direction. Then
I think Tom's got a comment, Mr. Mayor.
can you speak to the motion that's on the floor, please? Go
Yes,
ahead.
absolutely. No, I agree with Councillor Moher. It'd be nice to have the, to put the cost in there and keep it transparent to people. Unfortunately, Councillor Watson isn't on here, so we can't actually revise this particular one. So I think that's a good idea to have it on the next one.
Okay, the motion on the floor is to simply adopt the minutes. Councillor Landsman, speak to the motion, please. You're muted.
Yes, just with regard to the motion to have the amounts included, would it be possible then to include exactly what went where? Because everything did not go to the same destination. And that might make it more clear for people.
I'm sure that will be cleared up in the report that will come. Is that fair, Martina?
Yep, that is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion's on the floor for the minutes of October 30th and November 3rd. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Any business arising out of the minutes? Carl?
Mr. Chair, some time ago, we had a number of doubts regarding the Edwards Pit, gravel pit. And I just wondered if there might be a timeline when we could expect to see either a preliminary report or the final report relative to that asset.
Martina?
So council had passed a resolution, I believe it was in late August or early September. I don't have the date off the top, but they had formed a special investigative committee to look into this matter. The committee has done some investigative work and gotten advice from various professionals. So a report will be back to council before the end of December.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, we are going to move along. Dan Mirana of the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority is with us. And Dan, I'm sure wondered if we were ever going to get to you or not, right? So we're going to hear your whole dam report about the Warsaw Back Dam.
Well, it's been an interesting conversation up to this moment.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you. I think there's 3 or 4 slides, and I don't have control of the slides, so I don't know if they've been brought up now or I can just speak to them.
Yep.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay. Well, first of all, Your Worship, members of council, thanks very much for this opportunity. Every year this time, ORCA passes a budget, or not passes a budget, rather prepares a budget, endorses it, and then undertakes it's a regulatory requirement for us to consult with our member municipalities. The 2021 budget has a significant change for Township of Douro-Dummer, and I'd just like to speak to those changes and the reasons why. So the second slide, the slide before you right now, is the financial slide. It basically is not the whole budget here, but it's the portion that will be levied to the township. And in the middle column are the actuals from 2020. On the left is the proposed 2021 levy, and on the far right is the change from 20 to 21. So the top 2 rows, operating and capital levy, are what you would see as the annual recurring line items. They change every year, generally in pace with inflation or slightly above. The middle one, called the special levy from Millbrook, it's been a special levy we've assessed now. This will be the 5th and final year. We've assessed it for the reconstruction of the Millbrook Dam. And if you recall the apportionment rules on that one, the first thing the authority does is try to get some funding. And we were able to get about 2/3 of the project funded by federal and provincial sources. The balance of that then is assessed against our member municipalities, and Millbrook Cavan Monaghan rather paid 90%, and the remaining 10% is apportioned to the other 7 municipalities. And in 2020, your municipality was assessed just under $2,300. And in 21, it's about $620, $618 to be precise. What we're doing there is simply paying off the bridge financing for that project. The project has been finished for 2 years. The fourth line item, the fourth row, is a new levy. It's a 1-year levy, and it's to do a number of repairs to the 2 dams at Warsaw. And if we could go to the next slide, I'm just going to illustrate the work that's going to be done and then talk a little bit about the financing. So this is the auxiliary dam in the village. The council should know that every year we have an engineering firm inspect our dams. And then we undertake work kind of in context of the priorities the dam inspection inspectors provide us. So obviously Millbrook was a high priority dam. We had a few other repairs elsewhere, but the Warsaw dams are now getting to the top of the list. Since 2017, the engineers have been recommending the work we're going to do as not a high priority, but a kind of something that should be done within the 1 to 5 years. So we're getting into year 4, year 5. And so it's just coming to the top of the pile, if you will. And it's becoming, because of that, it's becoming the most urgent or necessary work to be done. So what are we going to do? On this auxiliary dam, there's 2, on the picture on the left, you'll see at the bottom of the spillway, the gabion baskets have fallen apart, the stone has dropped out. You'll see that the stone, armor stone walkway up the left side of the spillway is actually starting to lean into the wall and starting to deteriorate from below. And on the right photograph, you'll see the heavy armor stone retaining face on the shoreline there is starting to slide in to the river. It's losing its structural integrity. And you'll see the deck itself, and you'll see the 2 posts on the deck. They're on the right side of the deck. Those posts hold our winches for pulling up the logs and taking them down. And there's no safety apparatus around that for our operators. So we need to extend the deck and put a railing around that. So those are the kinds of repairs to this dam. If we go to the next slide. The back dam, it's not as significant. It's quite small. It really is repairing this crack in the retaining wall and filling in the stone and the material in behind it. And the picture on the right shows the cavity and the water starting to creep in behind it. So that's a description of the work. Again, it's rooted in engineering reports. It's assessed in terms of urgency and significance of repairs. And all the real bad stuff we had has been by and large dealt with. This is the more moderate stuff, and it's at the top of the list, so we need to tend to it now. If I could go to the last slide, please. So I just mentioned 3 components to the work. Here's the cost breakdown for each. And the budget is built this way. What the total cost is today, based on engineering estimates, it includes allowances for contract administration and for contingency. But the cost estimate right now is $323,000. We're going to seek out government funding. It's a matching program, so that'll cover about 50%. And then the balance will be split on a 90-10 ratio. So Douro will be 90%. So 90% of half is 45% of the total cost, and the other member municipalities would be 10% of half, which is 5% of the total cost. Our strategy is this: we'll make application this winter for the work to be done next year. If we're not successful, we'll hold it over for 1 more year and try a 2nd year for grants. But we will have to do the work in the 2nd year. So what we'll do is we'll assess we'll assess the first half, and if we get the matching grant, we'll get it done this year. And if we have to, we'll have to assess the other half in next year, and we'd be back to the table requesting the same amount of money if we have to self-finance it. So, but we'll take 2 attempts at getting the matching grant before we move forward. We have, nothing's for certain in our grant world. But we believe the kinds of repairs that are required here would float to the top of the list in terms of scoring and ranking. We think we'd get high up on the list, and we're reasonably comfortable to say that we could probably get close to half of the cost paid from provincial grants. But so that's it's really this project, 323,000 total, that skews the ask. The levy portion for Douro-Dummer for 1 and possibly 2 years, and then we'll get back into our normal rhythm of your contribution to support our operations on an ongoing basis. I think that's all I have, Your Worship. I'd be pleased to take questions through you.
Well, thank you, Dan. And Martina, I do believe we've been saving money in our pickle jar. And the only comment I guess I would make is that Mr. COVID-19 is into the formula now with absolutely everything we do, including any potential grants. So I think we should all be aware of the unknown future. Martina, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Since 2019, the township has noted that these projects were going to be on the books in coming forward. So we have been setting aside money in our 25-year capital forecast to cover these costs. So we have been aware of them, and we have been planning for them as well.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Carl, as our rep on the Orca board, do you have any comments to make?
And I wonder if you might be explained to members of council where the 90% authority cost comes from. If I understand it right, it's technically the dams in Warsaw are not required for conservation reasons, but Warsaw would not be the same if they didn't have those dams. So maybe you could provide more background on that. The Millbrook Dam was also the same way. 90% of it was the benefiting municipality of Cavan Monaghan, and that was a huge project. I think it was a $2 or $3 or $4 million project that was 20 years getting done. And perhaps you could illustrate a little bit further.
Sure. Sure. Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. Back in 2015, when we were faced with the challenge of how to fund that large cost project down in Millbrook, we went looking in our records, and in that case, we found correspondence of the day going back to the 60s, where the village of Millbrook agreed to pay 90% of any of the costs going forward. So we just brought that forward, but that was consistent and is consistent with what's called the benefiting levy formula in the Conservation Authorities Act. So every capital structure, and primarily dams, an authority can say that the dam benefits all or benefits some. And if it's benefiting some, that becomes, you determine who, and then you decide what's the cost sharing formula. So if we, for instance, let's say we were the Grand River Conservation Authority, and on the Grand River itself, they've got multiple dams, but what they do at the top end is actually augment water flow downstream in Guelph. So in that sense, all the dams there work in harmony to benefit everybody along the stream, and they basically share the cost on an assessment basis. Other streams and rivers are dams where no other municipality benefits but the municipality in which the structure is situated. And that's what the Warsaw dams are. That's what the Millbrook dams were. That's what the Jackson Creek Weir is. There's nobody else downstream that benefits. So in that case, the benefiting municipality is really the resident municipality or the host municipality. And as a general rule, our authority splits it 90-10. Some authorities do 100% to the benefiting, 0 to the remaining, but we do 90-10. And that's kind of the genesis of that. And when we acquired this dam back in, I think it was the 1980s, that was generally the conversation that it was a benefiting, but I'm not sure we had an explicit value, but we adopted the 90-10 because it was common in other things in our watershed. So I hope I answered you there.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Any other questions before I ask for a motion to receive that report and that delegation? Could I have that motion then, please? Carl?
I move
Seconder?
to receive it with thanks.
And Tom? Any discussion on the motion? And Dan, we want to thank you. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Now, Dan, you can stay with us. We should be done about midnight if you want, but unless you want to take a break.
I have to run to the city of Peterborough and convince them to be such nice people as you are. And
That'd be pretty hard.
and
Pretty hard
concede
for
on
them
our
to do
budget requests. So
Good.
thank you for your time this evening.
And would you maybe petition them to open the 3 roads that we're
Okay,
trying to use?
I'll lead off with the 3 roads and then ask them for money. How about that?
I haven't heard the other day that somebody was trying to go down the Mead Creek in one of those new yachts.
Oh, okay. Well,
Do some shopping in East City.
I'll certainly ask them what they've been doing about that problem.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks very much. Bye now.
Okay, moving ahead now to other business staff reports. The building permit fee review. We've got Brian. Brian, there you go on the screen, and we'll let you go from there. Go ahead.
Sure, thank you. So the original plan when this report was submitted was to solicit feedback from council and then return this for a lengthy presentation today. However, given the special meeting that was held on October the 30th, I believe that will suffice for the overwhelming review of this this report. So I won't go through in great detail. I think most of the questions of council that were asked were answered. Basically, the proposal today is twofold. The first is to evaluate the fees on a cost recovery basis and change the way that we calculate our fees from a cost per square foot basis to a construction value basis. And then that would establish a different mechanism of calculating the fees, which in my opinion is much simpler for the ratepayer and will result in an easier processing for building permit applications. And then the second part of this proposal is to establish a reserve fund, 10% additional cost on our fees, so that the reserve funds can be added to over the course of 20 years to eventually establish a 2-year reserve fund. So the recommendation tonight would ideally be something along the lines of accepting this report and moving forward to the next council meeting to review, or to, I guess, to accept the concept in principle and move forward with the revisions that are necessary to the building bylaw, which would be the establishment of the schedules as per the report, plus the wording and how the fees are calculated and all of that sort of stuff, as well as some general housekeeping with electronic permitting.
Okay, that's very concise. And as everyone knows, we did have a special meeting about this, giving all members of council an opportunity to dig deep and ask questions. And we're at this point now, and you heard the suggested recommendation. Are there any questions on that report? Go ahead, Carl.
I would move the recommendation to move forward with the next step. I have a question.
Okay, do we have a seconder to that? Sheila, go ahead, Carl.
Just a question, was there any changes in the reports, Brian?
No, there was no changes to the report. The general wording of everything, other than a few little typos, but the report that you have before you is the same report that you were received last meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, that is the motion that's on the floor. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Okay, thank you very much. 9.2, the grass is always greener. Martina, this is about the lawn maintenance RFP extension. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Cutting Edge Landscape Services was awarded a contract to cut the grass at a number of municipal properties. This contract was originally for a 4-year period, which was supposed to expire in 2017. And then it was further extended for 3 years till the end of 2020. We've now been in receipt of a request from Cutting Edge Landscape Services to extend the contract for either a 1-year or a 2-year term. If the extension was for a 1-year term, the cost will increase 2%, which is $8,219.16 plus HST. And if it's for a 2-year term, the increase would be 2.5%, which is $8,259.45. Cutting Edge has continued to provide us excellent service for our municipal properties. As the proponent is our existing contractor, under our procurement bylaw, we can negotiate the extension of the contract as stated in our policy. The policy states there is documented evidence that the extension or reinstatement of an existing contract would prove most cost-effective or beneficial to a maximum of 10% of the original contract. The yearly value when it came into effect, the yearly value of the contract when it originally came into effect in 2014 was $7,500. The cost of the 1-year extension in 2020 is $8,219.16, which is a 9.6% increase over the 7-year term. The recommendation that's before you is that we accept the 1-year extension as it meets our policies and will continue to provide us excellent service.
Okay, that seems to make a lot of sense to me. What is your pleasure? Sheila? You're muted, Sheila.
I'm sorry about that. My space bar does not unmute it. I would move the recommendation because we have been provided good service.
And a seconder to that motion. Tom, is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Thank you very much. Committee minutes, other reports, Police Service Board minutes of October 20th are before you. A motion, please, Carl.
I move to receive, and I have a question.
Seconder. Tom, go ahead, Carl.
Are the cattle on the road issue, is that happen to be Oak Road and County Road 4?
I do so believe that is the vicinity we're talking about.
Okay,
Again.
yesterday there was a
Yes.
herd of probably 30-odd cattle in a field with no fence to keep them in. They weren't on the road at that moment, but they could have been very easily. There was no electric fence. That was yesterday afternoon.
Martina, could I perhaps have you notify the OPP about that present danger?
Yes,
Again?
Mr. Mayor, I've added it to our note.
Good. Thank you for that. Okay, motion's on the floor for the minutes. Thank you for that, Carl. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. We have a couple of action items. 12.1, Municipality of St. Charles, about supporting their desire for increased broadband. I think we all have that same desire. And that's what recent provincial and federal money is trying to address. I guess we could send them a similar motion to have Douro-Dummer accept.
Right.
So what is your choice? To receive or to support? Carl?
I would move to receive.
Good.
So
Seconder?
I'll second.
Tom? All in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved. 12.2 is a letter from St. Joseph's Catholic School Council, and very important letter. I think it's about safety of our children, and I think we do indeed have to do whatever we can to make this happen between the township and the county, because it is a county road involved. Carl, go ahead.
I would move to receive the documentation and work with the county, the school, and look for solutions for the crosswalk and perhaps even a safety
Perfect.
zone.
Perfect. Yep. Okay, so hopefully we can do that as quickly as we can to get that safety issue. Go ahead, Martina.
Just a note, I know that this document is also going to be on County Council's agenda tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we have received communication from a consultant at the school because they're planning some renovations. So we'll, through council's motion, if it passes, we will all work together to find the best solution for the children to cross the road safely.
That's wonderful. Go ahead, Tom, seconder.
Yeah, I'm going to second it. I just have one comment, and if I may.
Go ahead.
reading on it about the speed limits coming on. I did take a drive out there the other day just to, after I read this and just to have a look, because I thought I've gone through a couple times coming up from the Warsaw Road, County Road 4 into Douro. There is a sign just partway up the hill. It's down to 40 kilometers an hour, not 60. And it's not a big thing, but I just wanted to be absolutely clear in this document that, what the speed limits are coming in.
Good. Carl?
Just one further comment here. I think the urgency of this has come forward as a result of the COVID factor. Many parents are not, their bus are taking their kids to the school, and what's happening is there's buses parked there and the circle driveway. I think the ultimate may be a crosswalk with appropriate paintings on the street and so on to allow those kids to get across. So that's probably going to be one of the biggest factors. But the principal of the school and I think the parent group will work with us and the county to move forward.
Okay, that motion is on the floor, offering full cooperation, and let's get at it as soon as we can. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. We have information items 13.1 to 13.4, municipal affairs and housing about the growth plan, municipal delegations at Roma Daleview Road Project, a landowner correspondence tracker, and Stephanie Bolton's letter appreciating the work of staff, which is very nice to receive. So one motion, please, for the information items 13.1 to 13.4. Sheila?
I'll make that motion.
That motion, and Tom will be the seconder. All in favor? That motion is approved. We do not have any accounts. Are there any notices of motion from anyone? Okay, seeing no hands. And under announcements, I guess I'll turn this over to Sheila and Tom. And this is something called Parades of the Past. Maybe you can give us a little introduction to this.
Certainly. You okay if I do that, Tom? Okay, as you well know, we're not having a parade. And so Tom and I got together and created a short video of parades of the past. And we want to show it at the beginning of the council meeting, December 1st. And it could be as a presentation, which occurs right at the beginning of the meeting. And I think people will look forward to it. So if you're listening out there tonight, pass it on.
So
and if you'd like the link to the YouTube channel, it's on the township website.
Great. So we'll look forward to that. We'll present it during our meeting of the 1st of December. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. That's a good reminder to everyone. And I'm sure our website will also present some reminders. We have no closed session. And we have a confirming bylaw 2020-62. Carl?
Yep.
And seconder, Sheila?
Sure.
All in favor? All opposed? That motion's approved. And confirming bylaw. That's what we just did. A motion to adjourn from Tom and Carl?
Sure.
All in favor?
Yep.
Motion, anybody against that? We could argue about it for half an hour.
No.
Okay, that's it. That is approved, and we thank everyone, and those of you who have been watching live or the recorded version, thank you all very much. Please stay safe, everyone, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.